Tanbonan, I came across this article from Luma where they are talking about the problems that Kaizer Chiefs currently have. They listed 5 of them. There might be more, there might be less, and we're going to talk about each and every one of these 5 points and where I agree and what I disagree with as well. I'll also be interested to hear what you guys think on the comment section. The first one is the problem of leadership, and the example they made was the fact that the captain of the whole club was caught smelling alcohol, and that's not a good example. And I know some people who love Kune are already getting offended, but let's move on from Kune and just look at the other players of that squad as well. Let's look at Sfiso Hlandi is one of the senior players in that Kaizer Chiefs team, but if you look at him and how he plays and carries himself a grounding, you look and think he doesn't look interested. And how does that even connect with leadership, Mpilo? Look at this. You have a player like Lionel Messi, ne? That guy is not the most vocal when you are watching the game, right? But what he does when he gets the ball, what he does with the ball, he's leading, he's working hard, he's creating chances for the team and contributing. So sometimes him even marking, I saw him marking in the World Cup that they won. I'm like, Messi can mark now. What is happening? So all of those small things that make the other players say, oh, okay, if a senior player is doing this, then we should also do it. Let's move on from Kune and just talk about the other people who are supposed to be leaders in the team. Because one thing that we saw in the Soweto derby that was very distasteful was looking at Tole, was looking at Mart, people throwing hands in the air. Even Aborang, I know he's new, but he's a senior player. He's much older than Abum too. You can't guys be throwing hands in the air fighting against each other, because then someone must calm the storm. Like everyone is now shouting, everyone is just not in order. Lapo Pirates can see, oh okay, these ones are weak, these ones are divided amongst themselves. So let's attack them, let's deal with them accordingly. And because of those things, Kaizer Chiefs ends up being exposed by other teams in game, because you can see that everyone is scared and there's no one who's actually calming the storm and saying, guys, come on, let's calm down. Number 2 is the fact that Kaizer Chiefs lacks discipline. And with this one, once again, people, the Latuma article, it talked about how Tutuzim Tanzano was also found with smelling alcohol as well, stuff like that. But also, let's move on from alcohol. Ne? Let's look at Umdlali like Nkosi Ngiphile Ngcobo. Nkosi Ngiphile Ngcobo, we've been calling him a young star for a very long time, but he's old now. And this is not to say he sucks, should never play for Chiefs anymore. No. This is to say him and Kick and Toli are overweight. Everyone can see that. You cannot tell me that a professional player who feeds and gets paid from eating or from playing football, an athlete, is overweight, and you're expecting that person to give it his all. Because if you are fat or overweight and you are playing for the biggest club in South African football, what are you going to contribute to the team? And yes, I know that the team is not bad just because those 2 players are overweight, but they are overweight and they are the 2 prime people that I'm making as examples. And what ends up happening with Tol ends up going back and getting injured, but that's because he's not fit well in any case. You think of Umshini, of how much he can be giving to the team if he was more disciplined. Like, I love Umshini. This is not a bashing video. This is a more of a constructive criticism kind of a video to say we could be getting much more. Look at Ronaldo at 38, 39, however old he is. He's still working harder than players who are 21 trying to break into teams. Yet Ronaldo is still outworking almost everyone in the footballing world. Yet there are players who are still overweight and playing for Kaizer Chiefs, a team that has not won anything in a long time. And Ronaldo has won almost everything except the World Cup, obviously, because, well, whatever. But the point is, we need to be more disciplined. And if those 2 players, if Ukune Gwayena naye weight yakhe shame ibe inkinga nje, if uDoli Gwayena you look at him overweight, if Umshini Gwayena you look at him, you have to wonder, does anyone actually stay behind like for practice? Because I heard the story about Luka Modric when he moved to Real Madrid. By the way, I hate Real Madrid. He went to Real Madrid and was trying to impress the coaches, and it was like early trying to impress the coaches, and only to find that Ronaldo was already there. I also prefer Messi over Ronaldo before people say you are a Ronaldo fanboy. I just like Ronaldo because of the fact that he's disciplined in the things that he does. Yabo. So if you're looking at a player who's achieved everything in football except the World Cup, and then you look at our players who have not won anything, they are not working as hard as you would want a player who's hungry for trophies to do so. Number 3, before we talk about number 3, please do like the video and do the other nice things. Number 3 is the striker problem, which I disagree with, because they are saying that when they published this thing, they had Urang had only scored 1 goal and Luke Gonzalez had only scored 0. Hasn't scored anything to this day. So they are saying the strikers are a problem. I don't think the strikers are a problem at Chiefs. For me, instead of saying the striker problem, I would say the creativity problem, because our strikers are not getting enough chances. Ne? So for me, I will still hold my stance and say I truly and honestly believe that you improve the supply, you get more goals from Ranga. You improve the supply, you're probably getting a few goals from Gonzalez. So until we fix that thing, that's what I'm looking forward to when the season resumes, to see how much creativity is going to be there, how many chances we're going to be creating. Because if we're still not creating chances, then those strikers are going to continue looking average. I saw someone saying even if you sign Lewandowski to Chiefs, they will not score any goals because they are not creating any goal scoring opportunities. Number 4 is the center back pairing. Also, this one is kind of divisive, right? Because there were most people were happy when we saw Kevin Msimango being signed, happy when we saw Titloko being signed, but they tried playing those two together, and then Msimango all of a sudden started making mistakes. And then some people, after Msimango was taken off, but Titloko stayed on, people were like, but even Titloko is making silly mistakes, he's always passing the ball back and stuff like that. And people were saying a lot of things. And to me, I think, once again, it's a system problem, ne? Because we had a Twitter space the other day on Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah. And we're talking about this thing of another guy, El Capitan, was saying the other problem is that, which is something I also have echoed in this channel before, Uguti, we sign players from teams who play a certain type of football, and we bring them to Chiefs, and then they can't play the type of football, or they cannot fit immediately to the type of system that we're playing. And because of Titlokwe, but you're good super sporty polo, we cleared from danger early on, and your main focus is defending. But you get to Kaizer Chiefs who are trying to play the ball from the back. So if you're playing the ball to Titlokwe, he's not really gonna think on his feet and be like, let me progress the ball. If he receives any amount of pressure, he's going to pass the ball back to the keeper, and there's never gonna be a time where he finds a pass to the midfield. So because of that, then it doesn't look like he's offering anything. And defensively, it's like there's this communication engasebenzi. If it's a combination of Titlokwe and Ungobo, it's like abazi ukuthi how they should communicate. But also the thing, that's why I'm saying it's a system problem, because if uzofika udlalisa uTitloko nomsimango amagame awu3, then usudlalisa uTitlokwe no amagame awu4, then after those 4 games now usuyashintsha usudlalisa uDove. I know it was enforced by injury, but now usufaka uDove usumfaka nomsimango. Now all of a sudden you see that the communication or the relationship that was being built between the two players is now being broken down. And because of that, as much as we have not conceded as many goals as last year, but the fact of the matter is we're supposed to have a better defense this year. Hence, we should be conceding way less goals than we have. And if you look at the goals that we've conceded, are goals that we were self-inflicted, because we're passing the ball back to the keeper and we ended up being in a pressure situation and we ended up conceding the goals. So in that way, I wouldn't say it's just the center back pairing problem, but it's also the amount of time we're giving to those two players and not understanding what type of football those players are comfortable with, because then we'll know that, okay, this is what we do. I watched Pirates when they were playing against us. I think what they did was they waited all the time. When the ball went to Kunik, they would press him, because they knew Guti is not the one who's comfortable on the ball. And if other teams are able to identify those things against us, why can't we then identify the strengths and weaknesses of our own players? Number 5, once again, controversial, the goalkeeper problem. Because, once again, since last season, Uzwane coach, there was Upvuma, first few games, then it was Peterson, then it was Kuhn, it was just all over the place. And then Peterson ended up winning this thing. I think it's like this thing that's happening there by Arsenal. David Raya has just taken over from Aaron Ramsdale, a position that is not usually changed. And he had made a lot of good saves, Aaron Ramsdale, last season. Arsenal don't even have a striker. They go out, they spend 40 million on a goalkeeper, but they don't have a striker. And I think there are certain things where you are like, why are we focusing on this position instead of focusing on improving what we have? Because in the case of Arsenal, I'm not an Arsenal fan, by the way, they could have just ironed out the mistakes or the small things that Ramsdale they thought didn't do. Because even passing, I was watching Liverpool play Arsenal the other day. Ramsdale, the passes that he makes, like he's better. Raya is still good enough, but I still feel like Ramsdale is a better goalkeeper. You also look at Kaizer Chiefs and how much time we give to the goalkeepers before we change them. I think the keeper that we've given most time is Peterson. But when it comes to Bvuma, he made a mistake once. Well, not once, but we lost 4-0, but it wasn't entirely his fault. There was a penalty in there. There was Sundowns tearing us apart there. The game was 4-0, and then after that, it got dropped. And then we moved on to Kuhn, and then we moved on to Peterson. And I'm like, why are we not having one keeper that we're sticking with? Like Vuma, we didn't stick with long enough. But to Peterson, we did do that. So that thing is kind of unfair. And because of that, it seems like they're never quite sure which keeper they want to trust. And for me, I still say Vuma should be the goalkeeper of Kaizer Chiefs going forward. And I know someone is going to go down on the comment and say, Vele wena uzondo Kune. But that's not the case. The truth of the matter, the fact of the matter is, most likely Ukone is not renewing his contract with Kaizer Chiefs because that's what the team has said. And now, if you have Ukone be the keeper until the end of the season, and then next season we're starting afresh with Upvuma with these players. We're just talking about how players should have relationships so that they understand and know how to communicate with each other. Now that means next season Upvuma must now start learning again to communicate well. Usenza my mistake and then abantu bathi akubuyisa Ukune and stuff like that. But Ukune is a Kaizer Chiefs legend. Nothing is gonna change that. Nothing is gonna change his legacy or take that away. But at this point, I strongly believe that the team should just make a decision and stick with Upvuma because he hasn't done anything wrong in the games that we've given him. 4 games he's played, 3 clean sheets, and then the 4th one was an offside in any case. But Tiga, which problem do you actually think you agree with in the list that I gave and from Latuma, obviously? And which problem do you also think Chiefs should address in this period that we have right now? To let me know down on the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, equals Alpelu Moya.